Good evening. And first at 5, violence in the ER after investigators say a patient attacked a sheriff's deputy inside a Hillsborough hospital. A scuffle that began, police say, when the man went for the deputy's gun. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. Hospital staffers rushed in to stop the attack, but even that didn't work. Let's get right to Mike Benner. And Mike, this didn't end until the deputy pulled out a knife.
Yeah, that's right, Laurel, and it had us wondering if it's common for deputies and police officers to carry knives, and we were told it's rare for them not to. Among other things, they're used to cut off seatbelts in accidents, maybe even cut open packages of drugs for testing in the field. But not very often is a knife used in situations like we saw overnight.
The ER at Kaiser Permanente Westside Medical Center was quiet Monday morning, but it was a much different story overnight.
It's scary.
Sergeant Danny DePietro of the Washington County Sheriff's Office says around 3 in the morning, a deputy was in the ER with a man in protective custody when that man suddenly went after the deputy's gun in what's described as an unprovoked attack.
We don't know what his intentions were.
Sergeant DePietro says a nurse and security guard stepped in to help, but even they could not stop the assault. We're told it did not end until the deputy pulled out a knife.
Most law enforcement are all going to have knives on them. We use them almost every day. Cut seatbelts if we have to get somebody out of a car.
Sergeant DePietro says the deputy stabbed his attacker multiple times.
Luckily, they were already in a hospital. Nurses were right there starting to give aid to the individual. He was transported to a local hospital, another one that's a trauma center. I don't have any update on his condition right now. The deputy had very minor superficial injuries.
And he's not alone. One of the hospital staffers who tried intervening suffered minor injuries as well. Remarkable when you consider the many ways this could have ended.
Situations like this, like I said, we train for him, and the deputy's training, it worked, and he was able to keep control of his gun the entire time. He never lost control of it, no shots were fired, and he was able to stop the subject.
It's worth noting we did reach out to hospital administrators to see if they had anything to say about what happened, and they referred all questions to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Speaking of which, the deputy involved in this incident is on leave, which is standard protocol. David.
Mike Benner in the newsroom. Thank you, Mike. Vancouver police are investigating a shooting they say may be a case of self-defense. Police say a man called them about 4:45 this morning and said he had shot at 2 people who he said pulled a gun on him. The caller said he was walking to work by Northeast Vancouver Mall Drive and Northeast 72nd Avenue. That is a few blocks from Vancouver Mall. Police say one person was shot in the leg, a 15-year-old boy. Officers detained the man who reported the shooting for questioning.
2 weeks ahead of the midterm elections, Republican candidate for Oregon Governor Christine Drazan revealed her plan to reduce crime. Drazan was part of a law enforcement roundtable this morning in Canby with members of the state legislature and local leaders. Christelle Kumwe has a breakdown of that plan.
As the state faces challenges with drugs, homelessness, and rising crime, Christine Drazan says her plan begins with repealing ballot measure 110, which decriminalized possession of small amounts of drugs 2 years ago. The Republican candidate for Oregon governor also said she'll declare homelessness a state of emergency on day 1. She'll support local efforts to get resources to help the homeless population, and if help was declined, they will not be allowed to remain on the streets. When it comes to rising crime across the state, Drazan pointed to her #1 priority.
Has got to be to put more officers on the street, and the extent to which the state is a little bit of a bottleneck for that when it comes to training and getting people out the door, I will do absolutely everything I can to expedite that process. We need more officers.
Recent polling shows Christine Drazan and Tina Kotek neck and neck for the lead. The Democratic candidate for Oregon governor held a rally over the weekend with Senator Elizabeth Warren, who made a plea to voters that the state was in jeopardy of turning red or Republican if Democrats don't come out to vote. Last week, KGW and the Oregonian hosted the final debate before Election Day with all 3 candidates for Oregon governor. You can watch the full debate right now on our KGW YouTube channel or streaming on KGW+. And remember, Election Day is on Tuesday, November 8th. I'm Christelle Kumwe for KGW News.
And ballots for the election have been delivered or are on their way to your mailbox. For our full guide covering the candidates and measures, text the word election to 503-226-5088 for a link to our online article.
And one of the top issues across the state of Oregon, our homeless crisis. We've got a follow-up this evening on the Portland mayor's major plan to address the Rose City's issues, one that aims to eventually ban unsanctioned camping across the entire city. Now, as we've been reporting, dozens of businesses downtown alone have closed their doors in part due to the challenges surrounding homelessness. Now, today we talked to some who wished this move by the mayor had been made sooner. Ted Wheeler's plan, of course, broadly speaking, has the support of city council and all three candidates for governor. It has 5 major parts. They include banning camping over an 18-month period, building 3 giant homeless camps known as campuses instead. The plan also calls for 20,000 affordable housing units by 2033.
I think it's a step in the right direction. I hope he goes all the way and outlaws camping on the streets.
You know, we're trying to attract people to come to work for the company, and Portland was a net positive in many, many ways for years. It's now a net negative.
Interesting to hear Portland called a net negative from his perspective. Today, the mayor, by the way, is in Los Angeles to take a look at their approach. On Wednesday, he will officially present the plan to council. It's unclear, though, at this point where the campuses would be located, who would manage them, and where the funding for the plan would come from.
New information tonight on the deadly float plane crash in Puget Sound from back in September. NTSB investigators revealed today they believe the crash could have been prevented and a missing part may be to blame. After looking through the wreckage, they say they did not find an essential lock ring that's supposed to be installed to a piece of the plane that controls pitch. Pitch is the up or down movement of the nose. The missing lock could potentially lead to a loss of control in the air.
What we found is a concern with the jack screw or the trim jack actuator, which controls the movement of the horizontal stabilizer. It could be everything from it wasn't put together or held together correctly. It came apart somehow, or something else that we haven't yet determined.
Now investigators are taking a deeper look into Northwest Seaplanes, the Washington-based company that owned the plane. It crashed on September 4th, killing all 10 people on board. Witnesses reported seeing the plane suddenly take a nosedive and fall in a near vertical descent.
A Camas man has been found dead on the Pacific Crest Trail. The Hood River County Sheriff's Office says Nicholas Wells' wife reported him missing Friday night when he didn't come home from a trail run. The 33-year-old had been in touch with her via text, but eventually stopped responding. Now, these are photos from the rescue and recovery efforts, we should say, on Sunday. Search crews found Wells' body over the weekend at the bottom of an 80-foot cliff about a mile from the freeway. No official word yet on Wells' cause of death.